Welcome to the Love Holistic Living podcast, your roadmap to heal and align mind, body, and soul and become intuitive through food, pleasure, and spirituality with your host and Italian friend, Sara Garofalo. Signs you guys are connected even if you do not talk. Welcome back to another episode with your Italian friend and healer, Sara with Love Holistic Living. And we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topic and the most viral topic on Instagram these days. Thank you so much for new followers following along. We have reached 35,000 followers and so grateful. So please take a moment to celebrate and like this episode, share with one of your besties because we're going to go deep today. We are going to go through the signs, but we are going to go deep today. We are going to look at the emotional, physical, and spiritual signs that you guys are still connected, even if you do not talk, even if you don't have a super close relationship and or these people are blocked. So sit and listen and or drive and listen and come along for the ride because souls can always communicate with each other. When they share a deep connection, then energy travels. And oftentimes people do not realize that emotions are a form of energy. So a lot of the time people ask me, how can my energy reach this person and vice versa? It's because of the emotional connection that bonds you two. So pay attention to that because it can be positive and or it can be negative and you must understand the difference. But let's go ahead and look at the emotional signs of how you guys are connected. The first one is constant thought. So you find yourself thinking about this person even without any apparent trigger. So many times I hear people say, hey, I was washing dishes and my brother came into mind, or one of my ex came into mind, or my cousin, or whatever. And then maybe they receive a call a day or a couple of days later. And that, for one, it was an intuitive thought, but it was also an emotional connection. So pay attention to those because it is not by case. It is super powerful when people come into our mind and we think about them. So careful who you think about often because you are sending them energy. Number two, strong emotions. So when you experience strong emotion, when you think about them and you have, whether it's positively charged or negatively charged, like fear, sadness, but also joy, excitement, butterflies, and so on, then that is a clear emotional sign. Don't take that for granted. Most people do. And then they're like, oh, I didn't read the signs, but the signs are always there and they speak through the body, which we're going to be talking about in the physical and sensory signs. So, number three is empathy and emotional resonance. Now, what you must understand here is that you can sense their emotions and or mood changes, feeling happy when they're happy and sad when they are sad. And this is sometimes a big problem. Why? Because when you're an empath, especially, it's very overwhelming, and empaths have a very hard time to distinguish whether that's their energy and or someone else's energy that they're picking up. I mean, empaths are a little bit psychic. As a psychic myself, Sometimes especially in a group session, like I pick up so many energies. And if someone is asking me for a reading in a group session, then sometimes what happens that I pick up someone else's energy and messages for another person that is not actually the person being interviewed or asking me the question. Thoughts are a little bit psychic. And that is why I always tell people that want to do the inner work, want to disconnect, their empaths, to sit quietly or live, at some point in the day, have that white space where there's only silence, not even music. Because if you learn to sit quietly with your thoughts and energy, you then get very crystal clear of how your energy and thoughts feel like in your body. Therefore, when an energy comes into your body or you pick up something, you then realize that it's not yours to begin with. But if you're missing that first step of sitting in meditation, clearing your mind, grounding yourself every single day, then you're not going to master your empathy gift. It is a gift. Some people believe that is a curse, and I believed it too in the past. But when I became serious about who I wanted to become and who I wanted to be as a parent, the role model wanted to show up as, and it was also for me, like primarily, like I wanted to become this person. I realized that I needed to take my commitments very seriously, my spiritual practice very seriously, because I kept getting frustrated. And at the end of the day, I was not doing the work. I was self sabotaging it. I was not keeping my commitments with myself. And that caused a lot of anger. So I was like, let's just commit. Like you brush your teeth every day, I meditate and journal every day. And I recommend you do that. Okay. Now, number four is an intuitive knowing. So you have a strong sense of knowing or understanding what's going on in their life without their direct communication. And what it means is, again, this is another form of intuition, intuitive guidance that I would say if you're not psychic, you're intuitive, that is the strongest you're going to ever feel is that knowing that something is up. Like, again, you may be sweeping the floor and you have this knowing, it comes from the inside of you that your girlfriend is going through something. And that for some reason, you just have to pick up the phone call. You have to pick up the phone and give her a call. Like, it's that knowing. So, what you can do is to trust that sign, that knowing, and pick up the phone. It's the best thing that I can suggest you do. Now, if you keep training your intuitive abilities, then you will start to create this relationship with your intuition and trust it even more. That is what I do every day. I treat it like a job. So how analysts, they analyze data all the time and then it becomes part of their lifestyle when they go around, they analyze things, numbers, it becomes part of their daily life. Or real estater, they go from home to home and when they're driving, they're not at work, but they constantly like are checking homes kind of like naturally. It's the same thing for me and for anybody who wants to become more intuitive. Like every day that I have an intuitive guidance thought, I spiritually guide my clients and I'm right, then I'm like, oh, that's how it came through. And I record that. So I build trust. And sometimes I'm not right because trajectory, because sometimes we can't read that well. There is some what we call interference, and that is okay too. You just have to keep building that trust, practicing. All right. I hope that the emotional and mental signs were helpful to you because we are going to deep dive into the physical and sensory signs, which are actually the first thing that you must pay attention to, which is one, the physical reaction. So your body reacts a certain way next to every person, right? Or every location, every situation. Every time you say, "Hey, I felt this in my stomach. I felt this in my thighs, in my knees. I had a headache as soon as I went on that meeting." Like, pay attention to how your body reacts because your body speaks first. I keep saying this on social media to my clients, to everyone who always asks, "How do I do it?" I read the body first. Okay. So, again, headaches, racing heart, butterflies in the stomach, tightness in the stomach, anxiety, all of those little things, but they are signs to decode. And the number two is the energy sensation. So you kind of feel their presence and or energy around you even when they are not physically present. And as an example, I have different protectors, not just in the spiritual form of angels and archangels with me, but I have people in my life that act as a protector. And so I remember recently going on a business trip, and without even communicating to this person, I felt his energy as a protector around me during all of the time of the 2-day business meeting. And I literally felt it next to me. And I was like, oh, great. Like, even though I'm not talking to this person, I feel so protected among, again, my angels and archangels. And so I have you know, even my mom, my dad, even though we are far apart, I feel their energy with me. I know they think about me in a loving way. And yeah, those are protector as well. So don't second guess that because these are all real things. And I know that maybe I live more in this world than you do, but I'm here to validate everything that you have been feeling until present moment. Now, let's talk about the spiritual and intuitive signs because that's my favorite so far. It's always talking about the spiritual signs, which I know all of you are so interested in understanding more. But let's talk about telepathic experiences. For example, experiencing moments where you know what they're thinking and or you say what they're thinking. And I have a new friend, in my life right now. And every time I say something, this person is always reminded me that I read their mind. And that is because we're so deeply connected telepathically that I just keep saying what this person is feeling or thinking. And I had this kind of connection. It's kind of like rare. So those are the strongest connection with my cousin. She was like a sister to me. She's 4 years older. Yes, she is. And we're not so close right now due to lifestyle changes and personal choices we've made. But in the past, we grew up together and she was like a big sister to me. We did everything together and we would telepathically talk all the time. And we would also train, like, we would spend our time training, and it was so fun. So If you have this kind of connection with someone, then cherish them if they are positive ones because they're super special. They truly are. And if you telepathically communicate with someone who is not so healthy in your life, then I would say one, cut the soul tie and remember that I have the link down below for you for my new mini course that you can take anywhere in the world and at your own pace that will give you the step by step guidance on how to cut the soul tie, release it, and also how to prevent from that soul tie to be recreated. So go ahead right now. It's only $47, but it has five of the most powerful lessons you're ever going to need, plus activations and guided meditations. And again, if you have a telepathic communication with an abusive ex and or an abusive parent, like an unhealthy toxic relationship, I do recommend cut the soul tie. If it's a very strong one, you may need to work with a spiritual healer. So I have clients also that come for a one-on-one for that specific reason. You can buy the course, but disconnect and use that for your advantage sometimes because sometimes you have to stay in contact with that person even though you don't want to. Example, co-parenting and or is your parent and I don't know, you have to take care of them and you can't block them or go away, but you can use everything at your advantage. You can use the energy and the bond to read and be ahead of the game, if you know what I mean. So, again, link down below. Go ahead and start right now. It will transform your life. Now, step number two or sign number two is synchronicities, which, as you notice a series of coincidences that are related to the person and or you see their names somewhere like on TV, in a book, while you're driving. And coincidences are honestly spiritual signs, very blunt and direct spiritual signs from your guides, from the universe that you guys are connected, and pay attention to those. Really do. And again, always check in with yourself if this is a good thing or a not so good thing. So, yeah, you need to also be your own judge of your own life. So, make sure that you check in with yourself. Is this a good thing or not? And another example is I have this client that suddenly it's like she's been having all these synchronicities in life with a person she is interested in romantically to pursue this romantic relationship at some point, and the universe is just dropping all this synchronicity of being at the same place at the same event and or finding like their account just out of the blue because she doesn't have the direct contact, but like she's scrolling and that pops into her feed and she's like, oh my god, I didn't even know this existed, this was possible. So all of these little things keep happening to her, and those are what we call synchronicity. That is the universe trying to communicate, pushing that connection forward in a good way. You know what I mean? Another example is I have been in the States for now 9 years, I believe. Oh my gosh, I think 8 or 9, probably 9. And back in the days when I came and I actually met the father of my kids and we were dating, then we got married. And in the course of our 5 years relationship, I kept meeting this friend that was in the community, right? And I remember meeting him at a festival, like at the most awkward places throughout the 5 years. And not that I was even interested in this person because I only had eye to Ward, the father of my kids at that time. And I kept meeting this person. I was like, oh my God, is this person like following me? I was not interested. I didn't even know this person that well. But at the grocery store, at the pharmacy, at the coffee shop, in like at that time, at that specific moment, at the hot spring, when I was like, what is happening, universe? Like, I felt like he was stalking me, but I knew that he wasn't actually stalking me. And after 5 years, after I started a divorce and after I got divorced, so after quote unquote 7 years, we were mature enough to start a romantic relationship that is no longer here anymore. We had a short and sweet, very powerful relationship and activation together. He was actually ended up being my twin flame. But bottom line is there is a time and place. And what I learned through the process was that he needed to mature. Like when I would see him in the past, we weren't ready, but our souls kept like trying to meet. And then after 7 years, we were ready to enter this romantic relationship, for a while. So trust in that. This is a story for another time when you guys want me to talk about twin flames. All right. And number three is dream connections. A lot of the times on social media, on TikTok and Instagram, people ask me, what if this person is coming into my dreams? Like, what does it mean? What's happening here? And I always remind people there are mainly two to three reasons why people come into your dream. One, it's a sign that you guys are spiritual connected. Two, they are trying to communicate something to you, and that can be in forms of images and or symbols and or they're saying something, and or you guys are healing the relationship through your dreams. And just know that that's happening, even though sometimes like, oh, it wasn't pleasant, blah blah blah, but you're working even in your dreams. Like your subconscious is always working. And so I tell people like probably you guys needed to do something in your dreams and you needed to heal something. That's it. Work is done. You don't have to know why, you don't have to remember, just trust in that. So, the last thing that I want to share with you today is and are the signs from the universe, which again, I would say first thing first, pay attention to your body, then to the emotions, then to the spiritual, and then pay close attention to the universe because seeing the signs, like seeing repeated like angel numbers, symbols you associate with this person, then it can be again positive and or negative. For example, positive because oh, I keep seeing this and that's reminding me of this person. We're connected. It's kind of like they're sending me a hi, a ciao, a hello, and or negative because their energy keeps trying to contact me. And you have to pay attention to your visceral reaction in order to discern if that's a good sign or not a good sign. And you're the only one that can decode that. And number two is feeling their presence. Again, this was kind of like in the physical, but it's still like a spiritual universe. Like this is when you then feel that they're with you and it's true. So trust in your feelings. And if you're someone who keeps doubting themselves and or keeps saying like I don't trust my feelings, I don't trust myself, then this is your sign to work on it. Do some inner work. Allow yourself to heal that relationship, that connection with yourself because One is priceless. The connection that you have with yourself. Like when you're fully whole and complete in the world. And again, it's an ongoing process, believe me. So nobody's perfect. But I know that I have myself. No matter what is happening in the world and what tornado life throws at me, I've been through so much that now I'm like, you know what? If it's not this, it's something better. If it's not this, it's someone better. I'm just at that point of surrendering, of like, no matter what's happening, I have air in my lungs, always food on the table. I have the love of my kids and for my kids, and I have me and I love myself, right? So you got this. That's what I'm trying to say. So, and also never stop working on yourself, on your inner work, on connecting with your true, most authentic self. I really hope that this was helpful. And if it was, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, give it a star wherever you're listening to, and from wherever place in the world. And I will give you a big, big ciao. And I'll see you in the next episode.